Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. I thought we'd talk a little bit today about making your Tai Chi form, making it your own. I mean, there's different philosophies about this. In some schools and some traditions, the form is very, very rigid, and every movement is done exactly just so. It takes X amount of time. I've seen Yang-style form competitions in Shanghai where the form has to finish within 15 seconds of a certain time. People who have never met each other will compete, and they'll be in absolute lockstep from different countries, and they will be in exactly the same beat in the same moment. And I don't know, there's another tradition, another way of looking at these forms, that you start off that way. You obey your instructors and your teachers, and you set things up, you learn these forms, and then gradually you start to break out of them, and you let your own body wisdom and your own body timing start to govern your practice and the way you do forms. I'm in that kind of lineage. Master Chung Chung Da-Chen was very independent-minded person who changed the traditional Yang form, added some Bagua and Xingyi type movements and principles, made it symmetrical so you work both sides of the body evenly, and he encouraged variations of the movements, like he'd say sometimes this way, sometimes that way, and people would ask him, which one should I do? And he'd say, you yourself, you figure it out. Andy Dale, my teacher, passed on that similar kind of feeling that the form is a bridge to the principles, and as you get to the principles, you can express those principles in many different ways, which will of course affect your form. And each person has different timing, they have a different body weight, they have different length limbs, the ratio of the limbs to each other is different. So when you finish a movement, let's say, and you go to relax, it's like pouring water over a bunch of stones. There's a relaxation and a softening and a settling. At least in our style, where we get to pause and settle after each movement. We'll do a push and then we'll kind of recover and soften and settle. So in those traditional Yang styles, they were one speed, one height, one size frame all the time. So right away we're not doing that. But when we slow down and soften, it's like pouring water over stones, and you kind of want to wait for it to settle into the right position where it kind of ripens, and then you go to the next move. Well, it's like each person's body is a different collection of stones, different sizes, different relationships to each other, and the water, or gravity, or chi, or whatever you want to call it, takes a different route to the ground, and it takes a little bit different timing. When you start incorporating breathing with the movement, so that you breathe, mainly exhaling on issuing offensive type movements, and inhaling on coiling, kind of neutralizing type movements. When you add the breath, what could be more personal and particular than your particular breathing rhythm? I've been singing since I was 8 years old, but I also have hay fever and allergies that affect my lungs. It's not one of my weak points in my health is my lungs, but I've been singing all this time. So I have a certain lung capacity, and I have a certain handicap there. That affects my breathing. Other people smoke, or were long-time smokers, or have allergies, or have asthma. Their breath's going to be different. They're going to have to adapt their breathing to the form differently. So the way Andy taught us is that initially, yes, we can do it in kind of together, and we have a certain rhythm, and we learn this, but the further in you go, the deeper in you go into your Tai Chi, the more the form should resemble you personally. It should look like an exercise that you're spontaneously doing, not an exercise that's absolutely rigid like other people doing it, which is why I don't even like to do Tai Chi in groups that much. I have a long form group that we get together once a week and run through our long form together, and there's still a little wiggle and variation in the timing. We're not trying to do it exactly on the same page. It can be nice to do it with a group of like-minded people and feel kind of a similar energy and a similar momentum and current together, but if that's all you do, then you never develop that personal idiosyncratic style that's hooked up to your breathing and your limbs and your day. How was your day? Did you spend the whole morning in an anxious situation so your energy's up and it's going to take the whole form to get it settled? Or did you get a good night's sleep and come in perfectly rested and perfectly at peace and start settled? Everyone's going to be different. I don't enjoy that much doing forms in groups, because very rarely is the group timing exactly my timing. So the breathing that I feel like doing, the emphasis that I feel like putting on it, I have to just kind of forget that and just compromise and go with the group, which has its benefits, and I don't hate it or anything. It's just my favorite. My favorite thing is to practice alone by myself and to feel that sequence go through my body. One day I might be extra focused on softening and relaxing, maybe even taking an extra breath there, and then other times I might be more interested in flow and connecting the movements to each other, or I might be focused more on martial applications or more on a certain aspect like keeping my elbows down or my shoulders down, or really working on uprighting my spine. So I really like it that way, because it seems to me like forms are examples of things. They're like an index. They're like an example of different ways to express these principles. And in action, in life, whether you're training for live fighting encounters or whether you're training for daily life, just getting through your day and your marriage and your job without hurting yourself or anybody else or anything you work with, if you're just trying to do that, if that's your live situation, well, I mean, when does it require that you be in a special form? I mean, hardly ever, if ever. It requires that you adapt and be in balance and have those principles alive, but the specific way that they express themselves is going to be different every single time. You never meet the same issue in your marriage twice. You never meet the same work situation twice. Not exactly. There's minor variations that you need to adapt to. So if you know the principles, yeah, sure, you can adapt. If you're stuck in a rigid form, you're out of luck. So I really encourage you to do that. Listen to your teachers, learn your form, but at least some of the time in your own practice, go slowly and feel your own way through it. Feel your own timing through it. It might not be exactly the way it was taught to you, but let your own self express it yourself through your Tai Chi, and it'll start to be real. You cannot taste Tai Chi, supreme ultimate harmony of yin and yang, unforced balance. You can't touch that for even a moment if you're stuck in a form. You have to step out of form to experience that. The form can help you, but it can only take you so far. There's a little jump at the end where you have to just leave it behind and take what you learned from it and just enter the territory, you know, leave the map behind for a little while. So thanks for watching, appreciate it. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to my YouTube channel, visit my website, GeneBurnett.com, and have a nice day.